Good afternoon. It is, I'm sitting in here with Freya and Belle and Emma, and I'm going to share fractured furry tales with Freya and Squatting Dog number 4, part 4 of how we were able to take a really, truly incompetent, corrupt, suffering municipal shelter and create something beautiful there in the Coachella Valley when I exposed California animal care and all the horrific things that were going on at that shelter. I think part 4 I left off at the, we were at the Coachella Valley Associated Governments, CVAG, and Corky Larson. We met her in Riverside. And so, anyways, I went to the first meeting and where they voted to take a look at it, right? Take a look at it. And the Coachella Valley was going by leaps and bounds. There was animals in their own filth, walking around with busted limbs and stuff. And it was just horrible there. It was just absolutely horrible there. And they voted to move forward after taking a look at some of the options. And Corky Larson and all many of the elected officials were asked me to go on a bus tour with them. We went down to Ramona Animal Shelter. It was a new one. It was in Riverside County, and that was after I showed Corky Larson the head one in Riverside, made from the Weber's bread thing. So I get in this van with all these elected officials. There's my friend Mike from Animal Samaritans, where I used to work at years ago, and he had become the president there. And so Mike and I and everything, we went down to see Ramona, and it was a set-up tour, and it was a beautiful facility. And they were showing all the stuff and the crematorium and all kinds of different things. But Mike and I noticed one thing, that it was spotless. But there was one thing. It was a state-of-the-art shelter. They had state-of-the-art stuff. And but we noticed one thing. All the kittens were a certain age, like adolescent, that they had. There was no nursing moms. There was no this, no that. And so, we met with them, and then later on, there was a big meeting at an auditorium where, I got to speak, and all the people from elected officials did as well, and everything, and because, I started the deal, and then, we ended the pet overpopulation in Desert Hot Springs with June Parker and everybody. And but anyways, Mike and I were on the way back, and all these elected officials were actually interested in improving their shelter, and because it was horrible there in the Coachella Valley. It was just, old school, catch and kill, leave them there for 3 days, don't give them any medical, and then kill them, and on and on and on. So anyways, all these elected officials from all the cities that were really interested in participating and building the Coachella Valley Wide Animal Campus were asking us questions, and Mike and I from Animal Samaritans, and I'm from Save a Pet running it, we told them about, it's kind of strange, all the kittens were the same age. And they was more interested in showing off his new crematorium rather than policies and programs to reduce the euthanasia rate. But it was a beautiful facility, and there was no animal suffering like the ones at California Animal Care. And so anyways, they got back, and so then we started in, and then they started getting working on that stuff. I'm about 4:15, but Corky and everybody, then we all met again, and I think it was every 2 weeks or once a month, they'd bring stuff up, and the other things would other cities would ask questions and stuff like that. And they started banging it out, man. I was so proud of the elected officials, and they were all proud of us, and we were all working together to uplift the animal world in our community there. And poor Aurora Kerr. And then we did meet with Mr. Wilson and Mr. Venable and some other huge county commissioners, really powerful people. And they were all like, because when I put Janice McLaughlin um, and Corky Larson together, they were all on board with making millions of dollars in revenue, and we floated a bond. Um, um, but that was way later. I'll talk about that later. But everybody was like, really looking and had that moment of clarity. And we were moving forward with it, man. It was a thing of beauty. And I had introduced Aurora Kerr to Mr. Wilson. They all, got together with that, and they got married. I was a matchmaker for the political powerhouses of the Coachella Valley. Aurora Kerr is such a beautiful lady, and Mr. Wilson, God rest his soul, he was a serious man. He was serious. We had brought this stuff to them, and then all the cities that I had brought to, except for Indian Wells, all of a sudden were inviting me, and we did have solutions, and it was great. And so Corky Larson and I, and the Coachella Valley Associate Government, we started marching around and going to different city hall meetings, and presenting our stuff and everything. But in the meantime, I'll tell you about Sergeant Phoenix and McDowell, the two detectives that got the report. I caught them lying in it. They said I was upset because I wanted the contracts. That's not what I do. And so I busted them fibbing, and then time marched on. Mr. McDowell the detective McDowell killed all his family up in Desert Center. It was a murder-suicide, and they were in my living room, and anyway, so the captain apologized for them lying, and we moved forward with the Coachella Valley-wide Animal Campus. Love.